Your colleague just walked out of the VP's office with your idea, the one you mentioned to him last week over coffee. He's getting the project, the recognition, the visibility. Most people think this happened because they weren't assertive enough or didn't speak up sooner. They're wrong. It happened because they don't understand the one thing that separates people who get used from people who get promoted. And it has nothing to do with being more aggressive or political. I'm going to show you what that is. And it's buried in Lesson 7. But if you skip ahead, you'll miss why it works. The first 6 lessons build the foundation. Without them, Lesson 7 is just another productivity tip that fails. When Marcus Aurelius became emperor, he inherited a senate full of people who smiled to his face while plotting behind closed doors. Advisors who tested him daily. Generals who wanted his position. Senators who'd perfected the art of political manipulation over generations. He didn't survive by being the smartest person in Rome. He didn't survive by working harder than everyone else. He survived by seeing patterns that others missed, reading people at a level that made him nearly impossible to manipulate. The same patterns that kept him in power for nearly 2 decades are playing out in your office right now. Once you see them, you can't unsee them. And once you can't unsee them, everything changes. Lesson 1. Never explain yourself to someone who's decided to misunderstand you. Your manager questions your approach in front of the team, not in a curious way, in that tone that tells everyone you've already done something wrong. You feel it rising, that urgent need to defend yourself, to explain your reasoning, to prove you thought this through. That impulse, that's exactly what they're counting on. Epictetus taught his students something most people never learn. Some people don't want clarity. They want conflict. They've already decided you're wrong. Now they're just collecting evidence to justify what they've already concluded. Your explanation won't change their mind. It will just give them more ammunition. Here's what you say instead. I appreciate the feedback. Let me review the data and follow up with you directly. Then you stop talking. Completely. You've acknowledged them without defending. You've moved the conversation out of the public arena. And you've taken control of the timeline. Now it happens on your terms, not theirs. They wanted a fight in front of an audience. You gave them professionalism and removed the audience. Everyone in that room just saw who had composure under pressure and who was looking for a target. Try it this week. When someone challenges you publicly, pause 3 seconds before responding. Then redirect to private follow-up. The pause alone will make them uncomfortable. The redirect will make them respect you. That brings us to Lesson 2, and this one will save you hours of wasted energy every single week. Lesson 2. The person who needs to win every argument has already lost. You know this person. They contradict you in every meeting, challenge every suggestion you make. And here's what makes it worse. They do it to everyone, but somehow, it still gets under your skin. Seneca spent years advising Emperor Nero, one of the most volatile, paranoid leaders in history. He learned something crucial. People who constantly need to prove they're right are revealing their insecurity, not their intelligence. They're not trying to find truth. They're trying to establish dominance. And the moment you engage with that, you've already lost. When they contradict you, try this. That's an interesting perspective. Then continue with your point as if they never spoke. You're not agreeing with them. You're not disagreeing with them. You're just not playing their game. Here's what happens next. They lose their power. Because their power came entirely from getting you to react. Without your reaction, they're just creating noise while you're creating value. And everyone else in the room sees the difference. This week, let someone have the last word in an argument. Don't defend, don't correct. Just move forward. Then watch who the team actually follows when decisions need to be made. Quick question, and I'm genuinely curious about this because it tells me what people at your level are dealing with. Have you ever stayed quiet in a meeting and later wished you'd spoken up? Or spoken up and immediately regretted it? Comment your experience. Your responses help shape what I cover next, which leads directly to the next lesson, and this one is harder than it sounds. Lesson 3. Your silence is more powerful than your defense. Your boss criticizes your work in front of the team. It's not constructive feedback, it's personal. It's designed to make you look incompetent, and everyone's watching to see how you'll react. This is the moment they're measuring you. The amateur defends immediately, lists all the reasons why they made that choice, explains their process, makes excuses, gets increasingly emotional. The professional does something that feels impossible in that moment, stays silent for 3 full seconds. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That includes your boss's criticism. That includes their attempt to provoke you in public. After 3 seconds, and those seconds will feel like an eternity, you say, "I'll look into that and get back to you." That's it. Nothing else. They wanted you defensive. They wanted you to scramble and explain and reveal your insecurity. Your silence just made them look unprofessional, not you. Your composure made them look reactive. And here's the power move that most people miss. Later, when you're alone with them, you address it directly, calmly, with specifics, with data if you have it. Private feedback for public criticism flips the entire power dynamic. You've shown them you won't be humiliated publicly, but you're professional enough to address issues properly. This week, practice the 3-second pause. In meetings, before you respond to emails, before you reply to criticism, watch what changes when you stop reacting and start responding. Now here's where things get more tactical. Lesson 4. Watch what people do when they think you're not watching. There's someone on your team. You're not sure about them. They're friendly to your face, always agreeable in meetings, but something feels off. You can't quite put your finger on it, but your instinct is telling you something. Trust that instinct, then verify it. Epictetus taught, people reveal themselves in unguarded moments. So you start paying attention differently. How do they talk about other colleagues when those people aren't around? What do they say in emails when you're not copied, but somehow the message gets back to you? How do they respond to requests when you're not in the room to see it? You're not being paranoid. You're being strategic. Here's the test that reveals everything. Share something small and see what happens. Tell them about a minor concern you have. Mention a challenge you're facing. Nothing critical. Nothing that could hurt you if it gets out. Just something. Then watch. If that information shows up in other conversations, you know. If they use it against you later in a meeting, you know. If they keep it confidential and offer genuine support, you also know. The Stoics didn't trust blindly. They didn't distrust automatically. They trusted based on evidence collected over time. Your reputation is built on who you associate with. Your career advancement depends on who you confide in. Choose based on evidence, not hope. This month, observe rather than assume. Watch patterns over weeks, not days. Let people show you who they are through their actions when nothing is at stake. That's when you see the truth. This next one has probably saved more careers than any other lesson on this list. I guarantee you violated this one in the past month. Lesson 5. Never make decisions when you're emotional. Friday afternoon, you get an email from your manager. It's dismissive, maybe borderline disrespectful. You can feel your face getting hot. Your fingers are already moving toward the keyboard. You're composing your response in your head. You're going to set this straight right now. Stop. Close the laptop. Walk away. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, commanded armies, held the power of life and death over millions of people. But he never made major decisions in anger. He'd write down his thoughts, sometimes pages of them, then wait, sometimes days. The best revenge is to not be like your enemy. That email you're about to send. It will feel incredibly satisfying for about 10 seconds. Then it becomes permanent evidence of your lack of composure. It's in writing. It can be forwarded. It can be used against you in performance reviews, in promotion discussions, in political battles 6 months from now. Here's your new rule. Any email written in emotion gets saved as a draft. You read it again in 24 hours. 90% of the time, you'll delete it entirely. The other 10%, you'll rewrite it so completely that nothing from the original survives. Why this makes you dangerous? While your colleagues are sending emotional responses, they'll regret Monday morning. You're building a reputation for thoughtful, measured, strategic communication. The kind of communication that gets you noticed by the people who make promotion decisions. Starting today, install a 24-hour rule for any communication that triggers you. Draft it if you need to get it out of your system. Then let it sit. This one habit will save your career multiple times before you retire. Be honest. Which lesson has hit hardest so far? The one about silence? The one about observation? The 24-hour email rule? Comment the number of the lesson that's making you rethink how you've been handling things. I want to know what's resonating with people at your level. All right, we're past halfway. This is where it gets interesting, because this next lesson goes against everything you've been taught about career advancement. Lesson 6. The moment you stop trying to impress people is the moment you become impressive. You're in a leadership meeting with senior executives. Someone asks a question about market projections, or budget allocations, or strategic initiatives. You don't know the answer. You could probably fake something, create some sophisticated-sounding response that buys you time. The old you would have done exactly that. Talked in circles, used impressive language, avoided admitting you didn't know. The new you? I don't have that information right now. Let me get you accurate details by end of day. Then you actually deliver by end of day. Seneca advised the most powerful people in Rome, emperors, senators, military commanders. His secret? He never pretended to know what he didn't know. Here's why this makes you dangerous. Everyone in that room has sat through countless meetings where people confidently bullshit their way through answers. They're exhausted by it. They've learned to distrust people who always have an immediate answer to everything. When you're the one person who admits what you don't know and then actually delivers what you promised when you promised it, you become the person they trust. Not the person who talks the most, the person whose word actually means something. Competence isn't knowing everything. It's being reliable with what you do know and honest about what you don't. This week, when you don't know something, say so clearly. Then follow through impeccably. Build your reputation on reliability, not performance. Remember at the beginning, when I mentioned, there's one thing that separates people who get used from people who get promoted? The thing that explained why your colleague walked out with your idea while you're still stuck in the same position. This is it. And I guarantee you're not doing this. Lesson 7. Your calendar reveals your priorities more honestly than your words ever could. You say you want that promotion. You say leadership is your goal. You talk about strategic thinking and executive presence. But pull up your calendar right now. What does it actually show? Back-to-back meetings with no gap to process what was discussed. Lunch eaten at your desk while answering emails. Every evening pushed late because you can't say no to requests. Your calendar is a meeting graveyard where other people's priorities are buried on top of yours. That's why you're stuck. Not because you're not talented, not because you don't work hard, because you've given everyone else control of your time and you've given yourself none. Marcus Aurelius ran an empire, multiple wars, political crises, plagues, betrayals. But he protected time for reflection every single day. He knew that constant action without strategic thinking is just exhaustion disguised as productivity. Here's what changes everything. Block 2 hours every week that are non-negotiable. No meetings, no calls, just thinking. Use it to review what's working and what's not. Where you're heading versus where you want to go. Who you're becoming versus who you intended to become. What you're saying yes to and what you should be saying no to. The executives you want to become? They're not busier than you. They're more strategic than you. They think in systems while you're drowning in tasks. They control their calendar. Their calendar doesn't control them. That 2-hour block is where you stop being a doer and start being a leader. That's where strategy happens. That's where you see the patterns everyone else misses. Right now, open your calendar. Block 2 hours next week. Not at 7 a.m., not at 6 p.m., but during actual work hours. Title it, Strategic Planning. Protect it like your career depends on it, because it does. This lesson becomes critical the higher you climb, because the stakes get bigger and the audiences get less forgiving. Lesson 8. The person who controls their reaction controls the situation. Your team misses a major deadline. The project you're leading just failed spectacularly. The client is furious. Your boss is livid. Your colleagues are panicking. And everyone, your team, your peers, senior leadership, everyone is looking at you to see what happens next. This is where most people reveal they're not actually ready for leadership. They panic, they blame, they make excuses, they get defensive. They try to spread the responsibility so thin that nobody's accountable. That's career suicide at your level. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Here's your response, and nothing else. Here's what happened. Here's what we're doing to fix it. Here's when you'll have an update. No excuses, no blame, no emotion, no but if only, or we would have except. Just clarity about the situation and the path forward. Why this makes you dangerous. Panic is contagious. Fear spreads through teams like a virus. So does composure. When you stay calm in crisis, you become the person people follow. Not because you had all the answers, not because you prevented the failure, but because you didn't fall apart when things went wrong. That's executive presence. That's what people remember when promotion decisions are being made. They don't remember who had the most successes. They remember who they trusted when everything was falling apart. Next crisis, and there will be one. Pause before reacting. State facts, not feelings. Outline next steps, not blame. Watch how quickly people calm down when you don't panic. Final lesson. This one separates who you are from who you want to become, and nobody's watching when this one matters most. Lesson 9. Your reputation is built in moments when nobody's watching. It's 4:47 p.m. on Friday. Everyone's mentally checked out. Most people left early. There's a small mistake in Monday's presentation. Nothing major. Probably nobody will even notice. You could fix it in 10 minutes, or you could let it go and enjoy your weekend. Nobody would know. Nobody's asking you to fix it. It's not technically your responsibility at this point. This is the moment that determines everything. Seneca wrote to his students, character is revealed in the small decisions we think don't matter. The executives you admire? They're not more talented than you. They're not smarter than you. They didn't get lucky breaks you never got. They made different choices in moments exactly like this one. They fixed the mistake. They sent the follow-up email when nobody asked. They double-checked the numbers when nobody was watching. They stayed 20 minutes late to get it right when everyone else had already gone home. Those tiny decisions compound over weeks, over months, over years, until your reputation isn't something you manage, it's something you've earned. Until people recommend you for opportunities without you even knowing you're being considered. Until your name comes up in promotion discussions and everyone around the table nods because of course it's you. Fix it. Not because someone's watching, because you're building the kind of character that doesn't need supervision to do the right thing. The kind of character that does what's right, because that's who you are, not because that's what you're required to do. That's the person who gets trusted with bigger responsibilities. That's the person who advances. That's the person you're becoming. Today, do one thing right that nobody asked you to do. Something small, document it privately, not to show anyone, but to remind yourself who you're becoming. Watch how doing this weekly changes everything within 6 months. You see the pattern now, don't you? These 9 lessons aren't separate tactics you pull out when you need them. They're all teaching you the same fundamental thing. Control what you can control, release what you can't, and become dangerous in the space between. Your words, your reactions, your calendar, your character, your standards when nobody's watching. That's your domain. That's where your power lives. Other people's opinions, their politics, their games, their attempts to manipulate or provoke you. Let them exhaust themselves playing those games. You've spent years, maybe decades, being reactive, defensive, trying to prove yourself to people who were never going to recognize you anyway, seeking validation from people who were never going to give it. The Stoics offer something completely different. Become so grounded in your own competence, so clear about your own character, that external validation becomes irrelevant. That's not arrogance, that's freedom. And that's exactly what makes you dangerous in the best possible way. Here's the lesson nobody talks about, and it might be the most important one. Everything I just taught you works at home, too. It really does. The 3-second pause before responding to your spouse when you're frustrated. The 24-hour rule before having difficult conversations with your kids. The calendar that protects family time as fiercely as it protects work time. The character you build when nobody's watching, that your family experiences every single day. Stoicism isn't a work strategy, it's a life strategy. The same principles that earn you respect at work build deeper relationships at home. The same composure that makes you effective under pressure makes you a better partner and parent. You're not building 2 different versions of yourself. You're building one integrated character that shows up the same way everywhere. Let's be honest about where you were when this video started. Frustrated. Maybe overlooked. Watching people with half your experience get opportunities that should be yours. Wondering what you're missing. What they have that you don't. Here's what you were missing. Workplace intelligence isn't about credentials, or hours worked, or even talent. It's about mastering yourself first, then mastering the environment. You now have 9 lessons that will change how people experience you. Not eventually. Not after some massive transformation. Monday morning, in your next meeting, in your next email, in your next crisis. These aren't theory. They're battle-tested strategies from people who navigated politics, far more dangerous than your office will ever be. If this shifted how you're thinking about your work week, subscribe. Every week I break down ancient Stoic wisdom for modern workplace challenges. Real strategies. Real results. Drop a comment. Which lesson are you implementing first? Remember, executive by day, Stoic always. You're not just surviving your workplace anymore. You're mastering it. Now go prove it.